Great Monday to you guys. How are we doing? Hope you guys are getting a great start to your week. Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday week that just ended for us. It is Monday, you guys. I mean, we are at a brand new week. It's time to get a brand new process going. But for today, guys, I want to bring you guys something real simple, real easy. And I'm sorry for those of you guys who are just now tuning in, maybe you're familiar, I'm Coach G, your master mindset creator, empowering men around the globe with healthy mindsets to overcome compulsive habits and also to create that radical individual, someone who is traditionally different than what is already known about them. So let's get started with that, guys. And today, like I always told you guys, this isn't about always having that porn brain conversation. We want to be able to have that man brain kind of conversation, right? Because the reality is life still happens. Before this became an issue, you still dealt with life as a man. Once this is all gone, you still got to deal with issues as a man. None of that's going to change. So, as the title of the feed says, it's like, what the fuck? How many guys have you had that moment? You've literally been in like a what the fuck kind of a place. And you're like, damn, nothing is going right now. And on top of that, I got to be blah, 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 blah. So what do I mean by that, right? Well, okay, let's just take into account, you know me, I'm pretty transparent. I'll talk about everything, keep it about myself. And if you get some pieces that benefit you, then so be it. So here's the deal, guys. This past week, I had the opportunity, a lot of you all know, my wife, my two younger kids, they live in New York, Brooklyn, New York, right? So I get an opportunity to be able to go by and see them. Don't mind me, I'm just getting the different shares out right now. But I get a chance to go out and see them a few times a month. So this past week, I go up to New York to see them, and I don't see this feed here. I don't see our live show, guys, to be able to share it. Anyways, so I go to New York to get ready to see them, right? And I thought I did what I was supposed to do. I got everything for the most part pretty packed. I kind of made sure that my finances was okay. I knew what time things had to go, the whole nine. And when I got up there, here's what all happened. Like, it just started out like one thing after another, right? Like, I'm literally sitting there, and first it's, I don't have my ID. Yeah. Out of all states to lose your ID, guys, I lost my ID in New York. New York City. Exactly. Well, not New York City. It's in Brooklyn somewhere. But still, lost my ID, right? So that was the first hurdle. Next hurdle was that I didn't get unpacked soon enough, right? I just didn't get the stuff out of the car, got into town late. I didn't get everything set up like I wanted to have it for my episode. A lot of you guys saw episode 3, so that was done in my car. But hey, not a big thing. I was like, cool, knock it out in my car, right? Good to go. And then the next day came around, and we had a medical situation. It's like, you know what? It's just not going to work for me to be able to get this show out right now. So I wasn't able to get you guys episode 5 last week. That was on Friday because I had to deal with that. Now, on top of that, I get into town, and like the first couple days, guys, it's like no sex. I know, right? You're like, what the hell, Coach G? You're not dealing with the problem anymore, and you still have to have that issue from time to time. Like, getting into town, no sex, just after seeing your wife, after being gone for a couple days now. Yeah, I still deal with those kind of things, guys. On top of that, a real big issue, my family is moving from New York to Las Vegas. Wife and kids. It's a great opportunity for her. It's a lot of things I could say that will make me want to get into another place, and I'm going to talk about that real soon, but it's an excellent opportunity for her. It's an opportunity that we've been looking forward to in terms of just moving to the West Coast. So a lot of those things happen, but here's the deal. All of that took place on top of me still having to run a business. I didn't even get a chance to work out like I wanted to work out while I was up in New York, right? All this on top of me still being able to maintain my body. These are things that don't go away. They don't actually ever change, right? All this on top of managing my finances. right? I mean, things about our life that doesn't change. These are the normal things that we think about day in and day out, on top of managing my relationships, right? I mean, yeah, I got my 3 kids, I got a wife, I got mom, I got dad, I got sisters, I got the whole 9 that may go along with it, right? All these things are taking place. And can I be honest with you guys? When all these things were happening, the first thing that came in my head was about straight blame. All I wanted to do was just simply blame somebody. And of course, the first person that caught the bulk of it was my wife. Then my kids. And then lastly, it came back to me. I blame my wife because she didn't have her home in a certain way, and because she's getting ready to move, it's in such disarray, and I can't have it like I want to have it. And I blame my wife because, I put the needs of her home above the needs of myself. I blame my kids because I wanted them to somehow be more attentive and mindful of my belongings. Right? I mean, I even blame myself to a degree of saying, you know what, coming to New York, it was a rash decision. I should have thought it out a little bit more. Wasn't right coming to New York. I always lose something every time I come to New York. I mean, all these things are going through my mind, guys. And all I can think about is like blame and it isn't fair. Right? I mean, how many of us have really had that conversation? Like, let's just go ahead and have a conversation man to man right now. This isn't about coach to addict right now. This is about just having a simple man-to-man conversation right now. Any dynamic of your growth as a man. You may not be in my position with wife and kids and trying to manage a business and the whole night. You might be the 21-year-old who's trying to make it through college and lives in a dorm. But what I do know is that each of us has to attend in some avenue to some aspect of our business every single day. Each of us has to attend in some aspect our finances every single day. No matter what else happens or no matter what degree we're in, 18 to 81. We gotta look at all these different areas, right? Each of us as a man, we gotta be able to look at our relationships a certain way. We gotta each be able to look at how we treat ourselves. It doesn't matter how old we are. It doesn't matter what kind of job you got, how big or small your family is, the amount of responsibilities you got compared to the next man. We all got to deal with these things. And on top of that, life makes sure that we always got to deal with a little bit extra on top of that as well. And the thing about it isn't fair, when we look at what really happens here, because when we get a chance to really break down what happens when we go with that first thought that I had about dealing with the blame and wanting and almost the shame with it as well, right? And also part of like that this isn't fair kind of deal. Can I tell you what the consequences of that? I mean, not only am I just sitting here throwing crap at the world and I'm dealing with that entitlement thought. A lot of you guys have heard me talk about that entitlement thought, right? Where it's like that I deserve, I should get because kind of deal. Brothers, it don't really always work like that. You're sitting there thinking, I should get, this should happen, I should have this happen, this should be like this. The reality is that what's really happening is that, number one, you're just lashing out at innocent people around you. The 8-year-old and a 6-year-old are in no way accountable to a 38-year-old's belongings. Is what it is. The second thing that I realized in that whole process was that you get distracted. Can we just talk about that for a hot second, right? Like, let's just talk about being distracted in the midst of chaos, or at least what we perceive to be chaos. Like, the reality is, as I already said before, each of us have certain things that we got to address. We got to talk about, we have to address our business, we got to address finances, we got to address our health, we got to address our relationships. We have to address that core being part of us, that area we might be able to connect spiritually, however we define it. When we get a chance to maybe meditate or something along those lines, like all those pieces is what we always have to be attentful to. Like, make sure that we always pay attention to. And all these things that I just sat here and mentioned right now, right? Like the workout, the sex, even the not having enough room and space in my wife's home, and what else was there? You know, just my family moving across the country right now. Well, the reality of it is that, number one, they're just all distractions. At the end of the day, I got things that are set. And that entire list I just sat out there and gave you, I didn't tell you one single thing that would have prevented me from attending to my health that day. There wasn't one thing that said that I was incapable because of this situation of addressing my health. It wasn't one thing that came out that said I'm incapable of addressing my finances and my business. And again, some of that sounded confusing. Like, well, Georgia was a medical situation. That is expected. That is okay. That is what, you know, medical leave is about, kind of deal, right? And that is one thing I learned just being in sales, is that people have such a unknown privilege when you're giving stuff like sick leave kind of deal, right? And earned vacation time. You know, when you work for yourself, there's no such thing as sick leave and earned vacation time. You see, some of these sound like some real freaking good excuses for us to have instead of it being distractions. Sounds like the real deal, but it's not. They were really just all distractions. Nothing stopped me from addressing my body. Nothing stopped me from addressing my finances. Nothing stopped me from addressing my career and my business. Nothing stopped me from addressing my relationships in the one way that I want to make sure that I address them. Not how dynamics and circumstances of the life say that I'm going to address them. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, Coach G, you're rambling to me. You're telling me how this is supposed to be and what you went through. Well, you know what? I go through the exact same things, Coach G, or I go through something similar. How am I supposed to deal with that? When I have to deal with what's in front of me, and then life hits me from all these different angles, how am I supposed to deal with that? And I'm gonna help this brother out right now. It's probably gonna be the one time I do this. No, not the one time. But I mean, for those of y'all who aren't on my group call that I hold with the Mindful Habit every Monday morning at 10 a.m., we had a brother on there today, and he said it probably better than I could say it. We're gonna break it down a lot more. But we were discussing the very same thing, and he said, there's no way you can ever plan for the unexpected. He says, but the key is that you can't be complacent. If you're never complacent, then you're going to be able to prepare for the unexpected. How do you prepare for the unexpected? Don't be complacent. Again, how do you prepare for the unexpected? Don't be complacent. And I want to break that down for you guys, because that sounds great. Don't get me wrong, but there's certain steps I want you guys to understand in that. And the first step is that I just need us to have a level of awareness as men. Like, there is a part of us that, even despite what the world has said about, hey, you know, you're going to bear everything that comes down, there's a part of us as men that legitimately feels and thinks that, you know what? This is going to be okay. I'm going to make it through it easy. There's not going to be any damage, no risk to me, no consequences. I'm not going to be injured, hurt, harmed. And it doesn't matter what we're going through. We tend to think that somehow ends up being the outcome. And unfortunately, the number one thing we do is that we as men, we start setting ourselves up. We say things like, it's not going to be like that, or when it happens, I'm strong enough to deal with it because I'm a man. Guys, I don't care if we're talking about a relapse you're having with your addictions. I don't care if we're talking about the up and down moments you're having in your relationship. And, you know, I talk to guys all the time, and it's funny because I rarely talk to men who tell me that they are flat out divorced. What I hear is that, you know what, we're on the verge of divorce. We're separating right now. We're about to be separated. We're discussing this. Like, it's this limbo, uncommitted phase that I hear so often. And again, part of that is just when, you know, and I bring that up because, again, I want us to just be clear that we got to make some decisions that, you know what, this is what's going to happen in my life. This is how I need this to be able to operate and what I need to go about doing. But I'm also not going to be oblivious to saying that there's not going to be any hurt or pain that's going to come out of this. You got to know what this deal is going to be, guys. Look, I've been separated from my wife going on 5 years this November. And I've had to work like hell to get back to where I am right now with her. And it's more work that I gotta do to get my butt cross country and get in a home with her and my kids. But here's the deal. We hear a lot of this stuff again, and we're like, you know what? So much extra I gotta do. So much more I gotta do. Here's the first thing I want you guys just to understand is that, you know what? The plan we have, life is going to find a way to present some obstacle for it. That's just number one. I need you to just be aware. Like, here's the deal. Life has already shown you this, and there's a part of you that's resisted just as being the man that says, look, I'm tired of this happening all the time. And we're going to talk about how you stop the I'm tired of it part, because I know a lot of you guys are like, well, I am tired of it. I'm tired of the triggers. I'm tired of relapsing. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of having a poor relationship. What do I do if I'm tired of it? First part about it is that you got to be aware, but mindfully. You guys are scornfully aware. Don't get me wrong, I've been there. I was just there. We want to be like hatefully aware. She's leaving me. Mad at her. My kid's copying porn. Mad at him. My boss is doing this extra work for no reason. Mad at... It's the wrong energy, guys. I need you to be mindfully aware. That means no judgment. You're present in the moment. First step is mindfully aware. The second step is that you're going to create a plan. Next step, you're going to create a plan that helps you to address the one core thing you need to get done in each area of your life. There's only one core thing you got to get done. Everybody will make a list and say it's 1,001 things you got to make sure you get done. And don't get me wrong, you can grow into that. But let's just talk about the steps right now to get to that point. Is you got to first learn how to achieve one thing in every area of your life. You can't let the day go by and say, damn it, I didn't get enough water, or I didn't eat the right amount of food today. No, get it done. One core thing. The second part says that now you address the core part of it. You can't get complacent with that. Remember now, right? How do you handle being the unprepared, How do you plan for being unprepared? You're not being complacent. How are you not being complacent? Grant Cardone says this probably the best way possible. He wrote a book called The 10X Rule. And if you haven't read it, you need to go out, you need to pick it up, you need to read that thing twice just like I did. But in the 10X rule, what he talks about is that you and being prepared, and we talk about 10X, and of course for him, he's in sales, he does a lot of finance, so 10X just kind of, for him, within the text of that book, and maybe for a lot of people, it represents finances. Right? So if you're making $30,000 right now, you need to put a 10 behind that, find a way to make $300,000 this year. Right, now here's the deal. This is what he says about being in a place of 10X. It's not about you. You see, the one core thing I asked you to address was about you. And if you realize you accomplished that one core thing, that handles you. Everything else we're going to be talking about, that's the stuff that's going to impact us outside of you for the most part. Your wife, your kids, your parents, your job, your income, your money, your home, the water heater busting, your kid needing braces, parents being put into an old folks home, whatever the case might be. That's like outside of you. And if you really sit and think about it, right? I mean, heck, even if you get jumped, that's outside of you. So if you really sit and think about this kind of stuff, because it even goes back to what a trigger is, right? It's an automatic reaction to a habit is an automatic reaction to an external stimuli. So when it really comes down to it, is that what we really have to do in terms of when life is slamming us from different directions and we're caught off guard about A, B, and C, it's about how well are we prepared for what's going to be able to happen outside and around us. Listen, guys, you want to know why I'm upset, why I really got upset about finding out my wife had come to a definitive decision and date about when she was leaving to go? We had already been talking about making this move. Not necessarily moving to Vegas, but thinking about moving to California. Talked to a lot of my friends about it. Some of you all may have had a conversation with about it. She has a plan in action, date, address, to go and start building something in Vegas. And here's what hit me was that I'm not prepared. My son went and got braces. It's not so much that I'm mad at the bill that I got, but now what I realize is that I'm not prepared. When the medical situation happened, what it let me know was that, you know what? I wasn't prepared. Guys, really, that's all this really comes down to. When I lost my ID by what? Not being prepared. You think it's the first time I ever lost anything in New York? No. Heck, last time I was up there, I lost my freaking car key. You'd have thought I'd have learned by then. Put your stuff up in a secure location. Be mindfully aware of everything you have. Yet, I get up here this time and I lose my ID. It's not on me. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not on my wife. That's not on her home. It's not. My wife moving to Vegas right now, that's not about her and, oh wow, how dare she take my kids away from me. Guys, there's a couple choices. Can I pay the what it costs for her to stay in New York? Or am I going to be prepared enough to do what we've already been talking about doing? See, this is what it's about when we talk about being in a place of prepared, and you want to avoid the what the fuck, because a lot of times the what the fuck really happens because we was not prepared. You want to understand why the relapse happened? I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, if you relapse, it's because whatever triggered you, you was not prepared. Even beyond the trigger response plan. I was talking to one of the brothers earlier today on the call. One of his areas of what got him set up for the what the fuck moment, how did I get here, was simply about the fact that, you know what, I was just too damn confident. I figured, hey, you know what, I am man, hear me roar. I got this. Wife, talk to me about it, it's an issue with her. I'm man, I got this. But bros, that's not what this is. Again, we talked about this on the 4th of July. If you remember that episode. And we talked about manhood, independence versus dependence. And the question is, can you be independent enough to be dependent? So now we're saying that, you know what? I got to prepare for more than just myself. And guess what? That's how life is going to be. The only reason this is really tough for a lot of us is that we're getting this lesson when it's not just us. Like, that's what sucks sometimes about the what the fuck moments, is that it's impacting other people besides us. And as men, we got to know the language. And we got to know how to decipher it. You see, for us, what do we get told in these moments when what the fuck happens? Let's really think about it for a minute. You get told what? Man up. Let it go. Move on. Start it over. Get over it. And it's not like that's bad information. But the real problem is that they don't tell us how to apply it and make it applicable. Again, there used to be a saying that says, you know what, knowledge is power. And no, it's applicable knowledge is power. Applicable knowledge. What can we actually apply and use? And being told to man up, get over it, let it go, move on, that's not applicable knowledge. But you understanding that, okay, you right now need to prepare on all your core fronts. Like your health, ideally, what does it take to make that 10 times better? Because I guarantee you're going to have to stay up longer hours than the rest of your family. Your finances, I guarantee, before it's the crisis in your home, it's the crisis outside of your home that'll really come and cripple you. It won't be really you that makes you bankrupt. It'll be when the country goes on a bad decline, when the family needs money for this, when an unexpected death happens. You have to put in that time at your business and not be complacent with it moving in autopilot. I mean, let's just be realistic about it. If you're working for someone, your job is only as secure as the industry and your place in the industry within that company. That's it. If you got your own company, it's only about how relevant you are within that industry. That determines whether or not you got a job. A lot of people could be unemployed in the blink of an eye. It's not about today, brothers. It's about the next day, the next week, the people around us. So listen, guys, I thank each and every one of you guys for following. Make sure you jump onto YouTube. Subscribe. Like these videos, guys. We need something to go viral here pretty soon. Also, brothers, if you aren't a part of it, make sure you get in contact with me about the Mindful Habit program so you can be a part of the group calls we have, so you know what I'm talking about for the Mindset Monday group calls that we have as well. As always, you can get at me, email me, George at themindfulhabit.com, or simply give me a call, 443-600-9169. Listen, guys, I love you. That's Coach G's Radical Man Show. Kick ass this week. Peace.